Hey everyone, welcome to Direct Joy with me, Cherie, here on Tuesday lunchtime, 12 o'clock, and thanks for joining me. Today we've got two quite meaty topics, and I'm going to start off with saying a bit more about who I am and why I'm doing this. That feels important today, just to kind of share a little bit about my journey and how I came to Direct Joy and what it means to me. So I'm a psychologist and a psychotherapist, psychotherapeutic counsellor. And I've done a lot of work in the NHS. I've done a lot of work with the prison service. And I have done a lot of work in private practice as a counsellor and a psychotherapist. And that's mainly where my focus is now. And I've done a lot of work in lifestyle coaching. And yeah, all of that has combined really with my life experience, with my clinical experience. And I have a lot of noticings and observations about kind of how therapy is set up and the things that therapists do that sometimes make lots of sense and sometimes are just the way that we've always done things. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially over lockdown, is that access to mental health and emotional well-being questions are kind of not readily available. We have now more open resources such as Mind, and we know where to look, but do we know what question to ask? And sometimes I think that's the hardest thing. And when I set this up, it was very much like, what are the questions you want to ask, and what do you want to know about, and what do I want to know about, and what do I have in all the experience that I have, and some of it not particularly great. Some of the areas that I've worked in, and some of the access to mental health has been extremely poor, even with the loads of money chucked at it. So what is it about mental health and emotional well-being that is so locked down that we can actually open up and start exploring and questioning and observing, which for me is all what psychotherapy is about. It's about using the relationships that we have with ourselves and with others to really get under the bonnet about what's happening. And we do understand more about our physical health. We understand more about our brains and our hearts, literally the organs that we have in our bodies, than we do how we respond to things and the patterns that we have. We tend to think of the world in straight lines, and what's it like when it's blurry, and what's it like when those boundaries or those vows that we have in the world of how we show up are different. And that's very much where I'm coming from, is how can it be different? And if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. So what's it like to get something different? That's what I'm passionate about. And sometimes if it's not broke, don't fix it. And other times we really want to explore those kind of wild edges of our unconscious. And that's very much what I'm trained in, is the language of the unconscious. And that's what I love to explore and love to work with people on, in thinking about their patterns and their behaviours and their ways of being. And what we can bring to that as a profession of psychotherapy, but also just in human relations. And that kind of brings me to both of the questions today. They're both very much about human relations and why aren't people kind, and what that's like, what's going on with that. So we'll start off with that today. Why aren't people kind? So kindness is defined as generosity and friendliness and consideration, but it's not always like that, is it? People aren't always kind, and that's quite uncomfortable. I know, just walking to school this morning, there was so many different elements of noticing kindness and unkindness, and the people that just plough you down on the pavement. And then my daughter was trying extra specially hard to be kind, and this family on bikes on the pavement, they were young, so it was expected for them to be on the pavement. The dad took his bike onto the road, and the children were coming up, but they were wibbly wobbling, and she was trying her hardest, and she ended up getting stuck in the middle, and she was like, which way do I go? And I think kindness can sometimes be like that, can't it? It's like, do I respond with a defense? Do I respond with an attack? How do I respond? I'm stuck in this unknown. And yeah, there's so many phrases and sayings around kindness, isn't there? That sense of, okay, they mistake my kindness for a weakness. And wow, how powerful is that, to actually have kindness mistaken for a weakness? Like, that's horrible, isn't it? Absolutely horrible, that if you were trying to be kind, someone would perceive you as weak, or you even may perceive yourself as weak. What do we do with that? So thinking about the function of unkindness, what is the function of being unkind? Why are people unkind? Why are sometimes we unkind? Why are we unkind to ourselves? Why are we unkind to people we love? Those moments where the words fall out and you go, ooh, did I say that? Did I say that? And what is the function of that? And one of the things in psychotherapy that we talk about is the attacks on linking. And attacks on linking is, and this is a sliding scale, again, similar to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the hysteria. There's a sliding scale of this in relation to its clinical application. That's getting all really theoretical. And the idea is that the link is attacked. So the link between people is attacked with unkindness, and it stops relationship. It serves as a defense. It's a really good defense, isn't it? If someone's unkind to you, you don't want to hang out with them, do you? Who wants to do that? And so therefore the relationship is really, really stuck, isn't it? It's like, well, where do we go with this? And it's interesting because one of the thing is like life hacks, and on life hacks it talks about actually being kind gets you more. Okay, so being kind gets you more, but there's a perception that kindness is a weakness, and there's a perception that kindness is also really generous, and therefore you're giving away what you've got, and therefore you're not being selfish, so you're not keeping what's yours and what you've earned and what you're entitled to. Okay, so these are really mixed messages, aren't they? And actually, what happens if we are kind, if we do kindness? So there's some things around random acts of kindness, people in coffee shops that will turn around and say, I'll pay for that person's coffee behind, or I'll pay for that person's shopping. And, they say they're random. I'm not sure that's particularly random. That seems quite, but I remember doing that for a lady in Lidl's once. And she said to me, don't do that, dear. Don't do that. And I went, why? And she was like, no, I want to be able to pay for my own shopping. And for her, that was a real attack on her ego and her own independence, and that, she didn't like it. And I was like, I'm just trying to be kind. And what's that met with? It's just, everybody's experiences are so different, and it's really a great conversation to have. It's a great conversation to have with children, because usually they don't even notice when they're being unkind, and then they notice when they're being really unkind. And what's that about? And then when we think about our relationship with ourselves, am I kind to myself? Am I always kind to myself? If I hear the way that I speak to myself, is that the same as I would speak to a best friend or a sibling or anyone? Would I speak to a lady down the road like that as I walk past them? No, probably not. And what is it like to then think about that, really think about that, really sit with actually what we offer ourselves? And can it be a habit to get into being kind to ourselves and to others, and to notice when there's opportunities for that generosity, for that friendliness, for that consideration? What does it feel like to be kind, to receive, to give? What is that? And the idea around the attacks on linking is that happens at quite an early stage of our development. So that's the reason this kind of paper was written. It was back in the 50s. And the author, Bion, goes on to talk about the fact that after a baby attacks on the linking with the mother or the caregiver, they move to a developmental stage of a positive capability. I love that saying, positive capability. To move from attacking the linking, to move from that hold close place that can be perceived as unkindness to a more positive out. I just really love that feeling. I love that idea, and that's without even doing anything. I helped a lady this morning get she was walking out of her house with this massive microwave, and I was like, she's heading towards her car, and I was like, how are you going to open the door? Do you want a hand? And she was like, oh, yes, please, dear, thank you. And it's like, how are you going to do that? Bless you. We struggle so much through life, just that ordinarily, she just wanted that microwave, obviously, to take it somewhere. And yeah, what is it like if kindness wins? That felt great to me, just helping a random lady down the street with her microwave. But I wouldn't have noticed that easily. I would have been on my phone, or I would have been thinking about this, or ordinarily I wouldn't have noticed it, but today I'm really tuned into that. But what's it like if you tune into that? Personally, it set my day up really awesomely. Just awesome was the word. So getting into that habit and reminding ourselves of that habit, and reminding ourselves that people aren't kind for a reason. There is something else going on. It is a sliding scale of attacking that linking as a defense. And there's a lot going on. It kind of brings me to the second question about social anxiety and what's that about, and how can we manage our social anxiety, which is a huge question. Absolutely huge. But I thought I'll give it a go. And it makes me think that maybe we're noticing that people are quite anxious at the moment. There is a collective pandemic, and therefore there is, and coming out of that in the UK, what is that like? What kind of anxieties is that bringing up? Now, that is really wide for everybody. And I think the kinder we are to ourselves and to each other, it's really important, because there's going to be some moments of, wow, this is miraculous, this is just such a winner, all these things are going to be happening by June. And even this week there's a huge sense of, whoa, a momentum, a collective and an individual momentum of the change. And we were in a stage in 2019 where only 1 in 10 people, adults, reported symptoms of anxiety. Over the course of the pandemic, it's now come to light that 4 out of 10 people. Now, that is a substantial, understandable increase. And that really brings to light for me that roller coaster of how wonderful yet anxiety provoking this situation is. The situation we've been in, but also this situation, what was, is now becoming again, but maybe in a different form, and maybe not. And also the amount of choices that are then available. We have so much more available information about ourselves. And the reason I say that is because as humans, we are so adaptive. We are so able to adapt to our environment. So when we went into lockdown in the summer, it was like, right, let's do this. Let's do this. The morale was high for that. Yes, there was a lot of, I don't really want to do this, but we coped, we did it, we proved. And we've done that throughout the last year. We've proved it, we've done it. Whatever we've faced, we've overcome it. We've survived thus far, and the future's looking bright. And however, we're going back to that, and maybe that back to that, there's some bits that you don't want. Maybe there's some elements of making a choice about what you don't want, and therefore being able to adapt has shown the power and energy that we have around simplifying, around multitasking even more, around the fact that we don't necessarily want to. And what does it say around our anxiety. So there's going to be some people that are like, yeah, it's going back to the roaring 20s. It's the new roaring 20s. There's parties, there's, you know, the clubs are going to be open. We're going to be able to go out. We're going to be able to socialize. You know, eventually we're going to be able to hug people. We're going to have barbecues. Eventually we'll have international travel again. You know, there's a huge amount of excitement around there. But for others, it's going to be, oh, we're going back there. And really, and what is there? And there may be an element of both for you. You know, we all have split elements of our lives of, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to that office, or I don't want to do that travel. I'm not sure about that group or that hobby, or, oh, I can't wait for that. You know, it's that it feels quite split. And how do we address that split, especially when our anxiety is high, when our heart rate is high, when it's hard to sleep, when, yeah, there's expectations, when your phone's pinging, say, do you want to walk? Or your phone isn't pinging and no one's asking you for a walk. And that's the breadth of what we're dealing with on an individual level, then, you know, on a relationship level. And I think it's extremely important to acknowledge the choice, to slow down, to acknowledge where you're at now. So Pema Chodorow, I can't pronounce her name. You will soon learn from these that I am rubbish at pronunciations. But Pema Chodorow talks about starting where you're at. And I just love that. And I have 1 million copies and none in my house because I just give them away. And starting where you're at, what is the beauty of that? Just now, you know, and you can try it now, literally. Plant your feet. Doesn't matter where you are. Feel your toes, plant your feet. Where are you? Feel where you're at. Feel where your body is saying, ooh, that's tight. Or, yeah. Or notice. Just notice who you are, what your choices are today. And the benefit of that is you're allowing yourself to be still. And when you're able to be still and know yourself, that is choice. Because from that place, anxiety does not have a winning chance. Kindness to yourself has the winning chance. There's the link. There's the link between the questions. I had no idea until that moment there was the link. There is the link. It's about choice, and it's about being still, finding where you're at. Now, our busy mind tells us where we're at all the time. But our heart, connecting to our heart of where we're at and where we're going forward with that, is about kindness to ourselves. And it's literally contagious. And you'll notice that if you make it a habit. And I think it's really, really important to allow yourself to be with that. We are human beings, not human doings. And we tend to do. And I definitely do. And I do not want to do that. And lockdown really helped me to slow down and appreciate and choose. And so acknowledging the bits of lockdown and the bits of the last year that I'm grateful for is wonderful. And acknowledging the bits that I don't want back. There are bits that I don't want back of my previous life, and that this year has flown on, however slowly and however fast it's gone. And I think that's, yeah. There's loads more to say about anxiety, and especially social anxiety. I thought it was really important today to kind of start with the cherry on top, which is kind of what's happening in the immediacy. If there's anything particular that you'd like to hear about anxiety, that's for next week. And if anxiety is really getting you, get in touch, okay? Please don't ever allow money or time or anything really to get in the way of getting in touch. It is an especially difficult time for a lot of people, and that you will know that from your friends and family. And yeah, I offer no cost, low cost, various cost places. It's not about cost. And it may just be that you need to be put in touch with the right person at the right time. And that's about starting where you're at. So start with that, and yeah, you won't go wrong. There is no wrong. So yeah, be still, know yourself, and I look forward to, if I don't speak to you before, speaking to you next Tuesday at 12 noon. In the meantime, happy Easter to those who celebrate it. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. It's Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your week and enjoy the weekend. Enjoy every day. Okay, thank you for joining me. It's awesome to see you all, and it's awesome to see the likes, and it's awesome to see you on the replays. They are available on YouTube, IGTV, and Facebook. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.